that Usman-Edwards fight. God,
crazy. That's the greatest come-from-behind head kick knockout ever.
It was over. Usman was dominating the last
I watched it again
4.
today. I watched it in the gym today, working out. It's like, fuck, it's crazy. And we always knew Leon Edwards was really technical and really good, but I just assumed that the battle was lost. It seemed
first
like
round he looked great.
He took him down for the first time. Well, Colby Covington should have gotten credit for a takedown in the second fight. He did take Usman down. And Usman's knees went to the ground, and Daniel Cormier was angry that it wasn't registered as a takedown. He goes, "That's 2." And you're talking to Daniel Cormier, who's an Olympic wrestler. That's the expert. That's who you should be going to when you decide whether or not something's a takedown. So I think they erroneously credited that with the first time that Kamaru Usman's ever been taken down in the UFC. It was the second time, but it was the most significant because not only did he take him down, he took him down, he mounted him, and then he took his back, and he was threatening with a rear naked choke. It was big. But then Kamaru, was the champion he is, took over, and he won most of the remaining rounds, and it looked like it was, 3 rounds to 1.
It almost looked like Edwards had kind of resigned to the fact that he was going to lose on a decision.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were saying. I mean, Dean Thomas, actually, who's the guy we go into in between rounds, who's an expert coach, he said he's broken. You could see how he wasn't looking his coaches in the eye, and he looked dejected. He goes, this is what it looks like when you're mentally broken. And then he went out there and landed the greatest head kick in the history of the sport. It was so perfect, too. It's so textbook. But that's the thing about Leon. He's so technical. The way he does things is so smooth and so efficient. And so it wasn't shocking that he could do that. It was just shocking in the context of his performance up until that moment. Yeah. But the way he feinted with the right hand, extended the left, that forced Usman's head to move off the center line and threw the kick at the same time. It was fucking magic. You can teach someone the reason why that techniques work so well. You couldn't teach them any better than that visual. Because Usman's moving away from the punch and wham, the head kick comes. What is this?
They were drilling this right before the fight.
Really? Oh, my goodness.
They noticed something on video, I guess.
Oh, my goodness.
Jab away hook kick.
Yes. So they noticed that as he was moving, he would move off to the right-hand side. Wow. That's incredible. He'll circle and then go with the high kick. Wow. That's incredible. I mean, it's perfect. Greatest head kick knockout ever. And I don't think there's a close second. In terms of, you could say Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey, but Holly Holm was winning that fight. It's a totally different experience.
Yep.
Holly Holm was avoiding Ronda. She avoided the clinch. She avoided the takedowns. She was dominating her on the feet. Ronda was already beaten up by the time that Holly landed a head kick. Ronda was getting fucked up.
That was a rough night for Ronda Rousey fans.
Very rough night. Very, very rough night. But a great night for Holly Holm fans.
Yeah, it was.
But this is different. This was a fight where it was a come from behind. He was down 3 rounds to 1. He won the first round. He lost the next 3. And to land that head kick in a fight like that was fucking wild. Especially when you consider, like, Leon hadn't fought in so long. There'd been so many problems. He was scheduled to fight Tyron Woodley in England. That fight got canceled because of the pandemic, and there was all these setbacks. But we had always known that he was one of the very best in the division, and that he's this, like, dark horse. This guy that people maybe in the general public weren't really aware of. Everybody's aware of the big stars, and he was just, like, super talented guy that had only lost 1 time in the UFC, and that was to Usman early in his career. And that was when he didn't know how to wrestle. So one of the big victories was him taking Usman down the first round and showing him, hey, motherfucker, I'm a real martial artist. I'm not just a striker anymore. I'm a fully well-rounded martial artist.
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
I love you and Daniel's reactions.
Oh my God,
some of the best.
It was crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not react that way?
Yeah.
Like when that happened. I mean, everyone behind us had the same reaction.
Yeah.
There's a video of Tony Hinchcliffe, who was right behind me, and when the head kick lands, he stands up and puts his arms in the air and he goes, "Oh my God!" Because that's what everybody's reaction was, like, "Oh my God!" Because when you think, that's one of the beautiful things about MMA that is different than any other sport. In that, like, or boxing too, is that you could come from behind with one move, one thing, and it changes everything and shuts it all off. It's so final.
But you just haven't seen that in boxing or or UFC, I would say, in a while, right? Where
Very
somebody's
rarely.
been getting beat up.
Right.
It's, that's what I love about the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fights is because you just knew at any point, didn't matter who was ahead, one punch from either of these guys, and it'd be fucking over, right?
Yeah.
But in UFC, you just don't see that a whole lot, where a guy's getting his ass whooped, and then comes back and.
Well, it's a credit to Leon that he was able to do that, but also a credit to Leon that he really didn't absorb a lot of punishment in that fight. He wasn't busted up. He didn't have his eyes swollen.
Yeah,
He hadn't been concussed and rocked. He was losing, but he wasn't getting beat up.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting like tortured. He was still very fresh in the 5th round, which is also a credit to his conditioning. That he was able to fight that kind of a grueling fight and still be fast enough.
In Utah.
Yeah,
as well, because some of the other fights, multiple fighters were really, I mean, poor Luke, wasn't conditioning wise, but there were other in the prelims where people were really tiring out in the 2nd and 3rd rounds of 3-round fights.
Sure,
and both these dudes, Usman as well, they look really fresh in the 5th round.
Well, Usman lives and trains at least in Colorado.
Yeah,
so he's training at altitude, which is great. But there's arguments about that too. One of the arguments is that the best method to do is actually to sleep at altitude, but to train at sea level.
Really?
Yeah, because it's about how much output you can put out, and that if you're training at sea level, you are able to put in more work, so you have more output. So your heart, you're able to condition your body better, and then you recover at altitude. So in your sleep time, your rest time, then your body acclimates and produces more red blood cells, which enhances your endurance, but you're still getting in more work.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the general consensus now, as they think that it's better to sleep at altitude. So people have these altitude